world's biggest voter roll revision. For the first time in 21 years, Bharat undergoes nationwide SIR. What is Special Intensive Revision? Everything you must know as Bharat's voter.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. We're going to begin Explained by discussing the nationwide Special Intensive Revision. Yes, the SIR is an exercise by the Election Commission of India, ECI, to carry out a comprehensive house-to-house verification and update of electoral rolls. This is a dual. First is including all eligible citizens, they are able to vote, and second, removing ineligible entries like the ones who are dead or shifted or are in fact duplicated. This is to also ensure the roll's integrity. In practical terms, SIR involves an enumeration form that is given to each household in an area, and then documentation of date or place of birth and residence is done. This is especially for voters registered after a particular cutoff decided by the ECI. Then a public draft roll is released where claims and objections can be made. Post this, final publication of the updated roll is made. The SIR is directed by the Election Commission of India under its constitutional and statutory powers. Under Article 324 of the Constitution, the ECI has superintendence, direction and control of elections and electoral roll preparation. Statutorily, Section 21 of the Representation of the People's Act 1950 empowers the ECI to carry out special revision of the electoral roll at any time for reasons to be recorded. The power of ECI to conduct this SIR is also vested in the Supreme Court decision in the Mohinder Singh Gill versus the Chief Election Commissioner case 1977. Here, the apex court had upheld the ECI's broad powers under Article 324 to ensure free and fair elections, including orders repolling if needed. This then also includes thorough revision of the electoral roll from scratch by the ECI. India is going into a nationwide SIR from November 1st, 2025. The Election Commission of India has called it the second phase of SIR, as the first phase was Bihar. The CEC, Gyanesh Kumar, said all poll-bound states and union territories in 2026 will be part of the SIR, which includes Kerala, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. Let's listen in to what the CEC said.
प्रिंटिंग और ट्रेनिंग का कार्य कल से शुरू होगा और 3 नवंबर तक चलेगा। हाउस टू हाउस इन्यूमरेशन 4 नवंबर से 4 दिसंबर तक। पब्लिकेशन ऑफ ड्राफ्ट इलेक्टोरल रोल्स 9 दिसंबर 2025। क्लेम्स एंड ऑब्जेक्शंस का पीरियड 9 दिसंबर 2025 से लेकर 8 जनवरी 2026। जिन लोगों को नोटिस जाएंगे उनकी हियरिंग और वेरिफिकेशन का समय 9 दिसंबर से 31 जनवरी तक होगा और फाइनल इलेक्टोरल रोल्स 7 फरवरी 2026 को प्रकाशित किए जाएंगे।
But this is not the first time that India is conducting an intensive revision of electoral rolls. After independence in 1947, India's electoral history began with the monumental task of creating voter lists for a newly independent nation with limited infrastructure, widespread illiteracy and diverse linguistic and cultural contexts. From 1952 to 1956, Indian electoral rolls were in the process of becoming and unbecoming. The earliest SIR implementations between 1952 to 1956 were driven by the practical necessity of creating reliable voter databases for India's nascent democracy. The first comprehensive electoral exercise faced unprecedented challenges, registering over 173 million eligible voters across a vast territory with limited communication networks and administrative capacity. The early electoral rolls were compiled through house-to-house enumeration, establishing the precedent for intensive verification processes that would later characterize SIR implementations. The subsequent early revisions began in 1957 and went on till 1966. The years of 1957, 1961, 1965 and 1966 reflected the Election Commission's growing understanding of electoral administration complexities. These revisions addressed issues identified in earlier implementations while accommodating India's rapidly changing demographic and political landscape. The intensive revisions of 1983 to 84 and 87 to 89 marked a significant evolution in SIR methodology and scope. These implementations coincided with broader administrative modernization efforts and reflected increased sophistication in electoral management practices. The 1983 to 84 revision was particularly significant as it occurred during a period of substantial political change and growing recognition of electoral integrity challenges. This revision introduced improved verification procedures and more systematic approaches to handling disputed cases and appeals. The 87 to 89 intensive revision represented one of the most comprehensive electoral exercises undertaken since independence. This multi-year process addressed accumulated discrepancies in electoral rolls while implementing enhanced quality control measures and standardized procedures across different states. The 90s marked a watershed period in Indian electoral history, with intensive revisions playing a crucial role in introducing transformative electoral reforms like the electors' photo identity cards. EPIC was introduced in 1993 during the tenure of the CC-TN session, marking a revolutionary change in India's electoral administration. The 93 revision process facilitated the collection of photographs and biometric information necessary for EPIC production. While the primary purpose remained electoral roll accuracy, the integration of photo identity card creation made this revision particularly comprehensive and technologically advanced for its time. The 95 intensive revision served to consolidate the innovations introduced in 1993 and address implementation challenges identified during the EPIC rollout. This revision refined procedures for photo identity card distribution and improved systems for maintaining updated electoral rolls with photographic verification. The next cycle of intensive revision came in the early 2000s that addressed accumulated challenges from the previous decade while incorporating technological advances in electoral administration. These revisions reflected the Election Commission's continued commitment to periodic comprehensive verification despite the general shift towards summary revisions. The 2002 intensive revision marked the beginning of significant technology integration in electoral roll management. This revision utilized improved database management systems, better coordination between different administrative levels, and enhanced quality control procedures. The 2003 intensive revision was particularly extensive, covering multiple states and addressing significant discrepancies that had accumulated despite improved routine maintenance procedures. The 2003 revision established new benchmarks for intensive revision methodology, incorporating advanced database management, improved interstate coordination for handling migrant populations, and enhanced quality assurance procedures. These innovations would later influence the design of contemporary SIR implementations. In fact, the 2004 intensive revision served primarily as a consolidation exercise, addressing issues identified during the 2002 and 2003 implementations and ensuring also that improvements were systematically applied across all covered areas. This revision refined procedures that would become standard in later intensive revision implementations. It was a high time that the electoral rolls are revised thoroughly. It started with the poll-bound Bihar. In June 2025, the EC notified the SIR exercise for Bihar, aiming to refresh and correct it, and the electoral rolls ahead of the upcoming state assembly polls in November 2025. This was a large-scale house-to-house enumeration, requiring all existing voters to submit an enumeration form. Those registered after a certain date were asked to provide additional documentary proof of date and place of birth and parentage. According to the EC, by early July, about 46.95% of the state's 7.89 crore electors had submitted forms, with 3.70 crore forms collected in 2 weeks. In July, the EC also reported figures such as 26 lakh electors shifted constituencies, 7 lakh registered in 2 places, 18 lakh deceased, and 11,484 untraceable. At the conclusion of the exercise, the revised final list counted about 7.42 crore electors, down from 7.89 crore in the previous list, meaning about 65 lakh names were removed. Interestingly, the EC declared 0 appeals against the SIR in Bihar. Opposition parties raised concerns that the timing and mechanics of the SIR could disenfranchise large number of voters, especially migrants, urban workers, and those without formal documentation. They argue that the documentary burden, that is of proof and parent and birth details, and the short time frame risked exclusion. The allegation was that the exercise might favor the ruling political dispensation by removing voters from opposition-leaning areas. In addition to these objections, the reported removal of around 65 lakh names triggered protests as well. The SIR exercise in Bihar was challenged in the Supreme Court as well via PILs that questioned its legality and process. The Supreme Court intervened, directing the EC to publish district-wise lists of deleted electors with reasons, accepting Aadhaar and EPIC as valid documents, also ensuring appeals were accessible As mentioned before, the last SIR was done in India from 2002 to 2004. On your screens, you can see the document published by the Election Commission listing the need of an SIR in 2025. According to the EC, the electoral rolls have to be revised due to frequent migration, which results in voters getting registered in more than one place. The Commission also noted that the non-removal of the dead voters is also long time due. It noted that removal of any foreigners from the electoral roll should be done. Let's have a look at what the nationwide SIR would entail. The exercise will start with 12 poll-bound states and UTs. This includes Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Goa, Puducherry, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Lakshadweep. All voters on the list would be given unique enumeration forms by booth-level officers. A copy of this can be seen on the screen, published by the EC. Voters submit these documents if their and their parents' names are not onto the 2003 voter list when the last SIR was conducted. Introduction of Form 6, Form 7 and Form 8 are to be filled by electors who want to enroll, delete or shift, respectively. The poll body also released a list 12 indicative not exhaustive documents of and for the survey. This includes birth certificate, caste certificate, passport as well. The house-to-house form filling will start from the 4th of November till the 4th of December. The draft roll will then be published on the 9th of December this year itself. The final electoral roll would be released on 7th of Feb 2026. In fact, the CEC spoke on this as well.
कई बार एक बार जब बूथ लेवल ऑफिसर घर जाता है तो या तो कुछ मतदाता अवेलेबल नहीं होते या कहीं गए होते हैं और या उनको मैचिंग या लिंकिंग करने में कोई समय लग रहा हो, तो ऐसे केस में बूथ लेवल ऑफिसर्स दूसरी बार भी जाएंगे और तीसरी बार भी जाएंगे। 3 बार हर बीएलओ हर घर जाएगा। जो प्रवासी लोगों की समस्या को हटाने के लिए जो राज्य से कुछ समय के लिए बाहर गए हुए हैं लेकिन वहीं के सामान्यतः रहने वाले हैं, वो ऑनलाइन भी भर सकते हैं और खास तौर से कई बार अर्बन वोटर्स को, क्योंकि उनके दिन के समय ही ऑफिस आवर्स रहते हैं, तो वो भी ऑनलाइन भर सकते हैं।
The nationwide special intensive revision is more than just a technical cleanup of voter rolls. It sits at the intersection of law, governance, identity and trust. On one hand, the Election Commission argues that an accurate and updated electoral roll is essential to the integrity of India's democracy, and elections cannot be free and fair if the voter list is inflated with duplicates, deceased individuals or unverifiable entries. But on the other hand, the fear of large-scale disenfranchisement is not unfounded, especially in a country where many citizens still move for work, lack formal documentation or live on the margins of state visibility. Only time will tell how the SIR will pan out.
World's biggest voter roll revision. For the first time in 21 years, Bharat undergoes nationwide SIR. What is Special Intensive Revision? Everything you must know as Bharat's voter.